AlanCoxShow.com. You can watch live there if you like. And if you're listening on iHeartRadio, you can drop us messages there. We'll get to some of the talkback messages. Comedian Josh Gondelman is going to join us a little bit later on. He's doing one show, one night. Very funny dude. He's going to be over at Hilarities tonight. He's from Boston. Mary's in Boston to do her own show.
Yeah, I'm at Laugh Boston. With
Is
Dan
that L-A-F-F?
L-A-U-G-H.
That's no fun.
They stuck to it.
That's no fun.
Yeah, no. Last night we had our first show, and it was incredible. God, it was like Dan's audience is their podcast listeners, and they're very smart, and they love comedy. So it's like, dude, you're just set up to win. Like, they're laughing at punches and applause break. I was doing, like, my, hey, follow me on social media pitch, and then I said, just off the cuff, I was like, if you guys like me, you can follow me here, you know. And I was like, if you don't like me, you can go F yourself, you know. And then they literally, like, one dude stood up. Gave me a huge applause break, and I was like, man, Boston is weird. Like, I just told off a room of 300 strangers, and they were like, hell yeah, good for you, girl.
That's a sign of strength to them.
So do you guys, Bill, do you guys both do that? Do you end your show with follow me on social media?
No, I forget every single time.
But Mary, do that?
Mary's very good at that.
I do that as, like, part of my merch pitch. So with Dan, he doesn't do meet and greets or anything like that, so I don't bring my physical CDs to sell. So in the time when I would normally be saying, hey, here's my CD, you can buy it, I'm saying, hey, here's my social media handles, follow me, and then buy tickets when I come back to Boston next.
But that's the end of the set.
No, that's right before I get into my dead dad jokes. So that's like a little breakup before
I see.
my closer.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of create your own little check drop.
Yeah. Kind of.
When I would record my album, I was recording head merch. I always forget to do the social media stuff, though, and I need to do that more because I'm putting my special out on YouTube. So I need people to be like, oh, yeah, YouTube. Speaking of YouTube, if you're watching the live stream today, Poundcake and Mary are on the same screen, and the way they're sitting, it looks like they're back to back.
Show me, because I didn't say. Oh, I didn't know that you had them split up. They're back
that's
to back.
because I had to put them both on a Zoom call, and it just looks like they're in the same room almost, but like just not talking to each other.
Right.
Just back to back, like, no.
And he couldn't care less. Look at him.
He doesn't even have his headphones on.
Oh, yeah, go back to him.
I do have my headphones on. What
yeah, he's got his headphones on. But he
I
couldn't care
guess-
less.
Is the live stream delayed? Because
Yes.
that's the only way I can
Yes.
see you guys.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Hey,
Never
did you
mind.
run into Chris Tyler?
No, there's like 6 people in this entire
Oh, yeah,
building.
because you know why? Because in Boston, Columbus Day is still a holiday.
It's
so
a holiday.
it's a huge, everybody clears out at noon in Boston. It's a big, long weekend because of Columbus Day.
Yeah.
So
well,
Tyler's probably already got a cigar lit up and, you know.
I call it Indigenous Baseball Players Day.
There you go. Even
I've
better.
I've seen like 3 other girls in what looks like their sales pit and then 1 dude in an office. And my theory, it's very warm in here. It's probably 72 or 73 degrees.
So you're very happy.
Oh, I'm so happy. I think it's because there's only 3 other women working here. So they
Well,
keep it
they
nice and
very
toasty.
clearly switched on the heat here, too, because
Yeah.
it's usually really cold. Even when it would be 82 degrees outside, they would have the AC on blast in our suite here because there's a lot of room to cover. I understand.
Yeah.
But it would still be noticeably cold. Like we're wearing hoodies all day long. And then you go outside, do a lap or whatever. Go, oh, right, it's still, a couple months ago, still 82. But it's been considerably chillier now, and I think they just cranked the heat on this morning. Because when I came in this morning, it was like walking through soup. Noticeably warmer.
Love that.
Yeah, I know you do.
Yeah,
Or my
everybody
cute
loves
little-
walking through soup.
Walking through soup is one of my favorite things to do.
I like gazpacho soup. It's ice cold.
But I was going to say that's, yeah. Somebody wrote you a letter about finding a phone?
Yeah, so I told the story yesterday about finding a phone and how it felt gross even going through anybody's phone at all. Like having somebody else's phone because they're so personal now. And I just opened up the phone app called what ended up Schmoopy do or whatever it was. He had his wife in the phone as and told her where I was going to put the phone so she could come and get it for him. And how, that's what I would do in Poundcake. It was like, I would go through it. Yeah, he's like, I'd go through all the pictures. And, based on what we know about Mary going, stealing shirts and wanting to steal money.
God damn, you dick.
I just imagine that if she found a phone, she would just be like, oh, I'm going to wipe this and sell it.
BS, dude. I found a smartwatch when we were in Oak Tree, And you know what I did? I
Was it outside or inside?
It was by the elevator.
Inside the building, though.
Inside the building by the elevator, and it wasn't locked. So I was able to go into the contacts, and I found her husband's phone number, and I called that phone number from my phone. I said, hey, I know this is weird. I found a smartwatch. You're listed as husband. Do you know who this is? So
I think that's, you know what, I got to tell you, I think that's really nice of you guys because I consider myself a very polite person. If a situation presents itself to me, I can be helpful. I am unfailingly polite, but I'm not going that extra mile.
Well,
I'm just not.
It didn't take an extra mile. It took me one phone call, and it worked out for all I know.
Right, but the letter the person
Poundcake-
wrote you,
yeah.
they were talking about how, somebody writes and they go, I was taking my kid to school last winter, and I saw a phone in the middle of the road. And so the roads were all plowed, so I pulled over, I ran out, and I grabbed it because it was in the middle of the road. Put it in the console, take the kid to school, go back home. Phone's locked, not sure what to do, whatever. Text pops up. Did a little bit of detective work, tracked the name down to the house. It was a neighbor. She was so happy. That's so much work that I'm not willing to do. It's super nice. You guys are super nice.
I feel
but
like
I'm just not going that extra mile.
I think that if you found a phone on your street, you would find the owner of that phone.
I would not.
I
If
don't
I
think-
found a phone on my street,
on your street,
I would take it to the police department and go, hey, this was on my street.
I kind of like the
And they're not going to
detective
track it down, but at least I
no, but
did.
that's
I
why you
did-
got. That's why you got to go the extra mile and help that person because
I
I'd want
guess.
somebody to do that for me.
I would want that, but I would 0% expect someone to do that.
No, I don't expect it, but you put out into the world what you want to get back.
But nobody was looking for me when I lost my iPod in Ohio City.
Right, because they're like
No one uses iPods anymore.
They're like,
This was 10 years ago, Poundcake.
Still, nobody really used
People were-
iPods then.
Yeah,
either.
they did. Yeah,
not as much.
iPods were like 2004 to 2008.
Well, all I'm saying is they were still in use. People still used them. Now nobody does.
But also
10 years ago, yes, people were still using iPods.
An iPod is not as personal as a phone where in a phone you can find contacts to track somebody
Had
down.
my name on it. Somebody could have turned it on, plugged it in, done. Somebody could have done all the things you guys are describing
All right.
that you did, and I think it's very nice. Nobody did it for me. And I'm
Pull
not saying
yourself
that.
up
I'm
by
surprised.
your bootstraps, Alan.
I'm surprised that they
That's
didn't
right.
turn on the iPod, see that it was all these metal bands that no one's heard of, and going like, ugh, I guess I'll give this back.
Yeah, that's right. It was 35 gigs of Metal and Steely Dan. They were like, I know exactly who this is.
I know.
Are you up?
You know what? I don't want him to listen to this either. I'm going to throw it away.
I'm going to do him a favor. I'm going to throw this in the dumpster right there at St. Pat's.
I found someone's ID in a bathroom one time, and I just put their name into Facebook, and then they popped up, and it looked like the ID picture. I was like, hey, I found your ID in the bathroom stall. Do you want this back? And they ended up living, this is when I lived in Lakewood. They only lived a couple streets over from me, so I went and I put it in their mailbox.
That I get because you're starting with all their information. So
Yeah,
it literally takes a trip to Facebook, put the name in, whatever comes up, message sent, I've got it. That's very little work.
Yeah.
Bill kind of got lucky with the phone because
Yeah.
he called and but
Because the phone didn't lock either, so it was very easy to make that call, put the phone at the hotel that they were staying at, and just hope that they were able to find their own hotel.
I'm just saying, you guys are very nice.
But Poundcake would go through the photos, and that's all he would do. He wouldn't even try and find the owner. He just said, I just go
Well-
through the photos.
Well, I feel like if they left it unlocked, you're asking for something. Like if they left it with no security whatsoever, no code, no face, pass or
You
whatever.
know there are plenty of people, Poundcake, who don't have to worry about things on their phone.
Well, who said they're worried?
Well, you said if they don't have their phone locked.
I feel like
Like Bill said,
But
he was
it's-
clearly like a middle-aged woman and her husband who
I
they
understand.
just had pictures of their grandkids on there.
But if I'm
I
not,
didn't even see the pictures, but yeah, just from what I took from talking to the lady on the phone, they weren't sending each other D pics or anything
I
like
understand.
that.
But if I'm not mistaken, I
No
feel
D
like,
pics from Schmoopy Schmoo.
Yeah.
I feel like when you get like an iPhone or like a newer phone, it prompts you to make some type of security code. So I feel like an older person would do that, or a younger person most definitely would not have, just because they don't want their parents snooping through their stuff. They have a security code on their phone.
Right, but a lot of older people, when they have their phone set up, they have their kids set it up for them because they don't know what they're doing. And I know if I was setting up my dad's phone, I would make it as easy as possible for him to open it and use it, because he's not going to remember a code. He's not going to understand the face recognition technology, and he's going to get frustrated with it. And so I want him to just be able to open his phone and use it as easily as possible.
Okay, you know what?
I'm saying is I leave the phone where it is. This guy who pulled over in the middle of the road to grab a phone out of slush, that's very nice. If I see a phone, I go, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm a good person. And what does it, like the lady said, in case anybody hasn't told you today, you're awesome. I want to let you know you're awesome. And like I said, people tell me all the time that I'm awesome.
Hey, Joe.
Hey guys.
What's
How you
going on,
doing?
Joe?
Hey, I just want to say congratulations to the Guardians on the first win in the season, the playoffs, and it was an awesome game. It was all pitching, and also I'd like to also reflect on one other incident that you guys were talking about the Cavaliers yesterday, about a new logo for them, like all in this
Slogan.
and that,
Slogan, yeah,
else.
when their slogan, yeah. Balls deep is
Their
what
slogans.
I like.
Can you say maybe keep them coming?
Yes, of course you can. I'm sure we all did. I got a lot of slogans from listeners. I didn't get keep them coming, but that's pretty good.
I like it.
Here's another one. Keep your balls high.
All right. These are all very
that's
ball centric.
all I
Like, I
can
get
do.
it.
It's
They're
a
all
basketball.
I fully understand. I mean, but what I'm saying is the current slogans have nothing to do specifically with sports.
Well, that's
all
why they,
in, whatever
that's why
it
they need
takes.
a little be punched up a bit.
Yeah, that's true.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. I love keep them coming.
It was a good day. Yeah, keep them coming. It's good. I don't like that one. I thought about yesterday, but then you guys changed the subject on me, so I couldn't call in.
I move so
I know
fast
that.
around here, Joe. Thank you, pal.
Keep them coming would have been a good one when Sean Kemp was on the team.
Yeah. He's got a lot of kids, right?
Uh-huh.
Alan, if you find an ID, you can just drop it in a mailbox and they'll. Yeah, no, listen, I get it. In the early '90s, when I was the stunt boy on the morning show in Chicago. I got my wallet got stolen by a hooker, and the only reason I got it back was because I didn't keep money in my wallet. So she clearly opened it up,
broke bitch.
whatever, and threw it in. I don't know if I doubt she put it in a mailbox, but she threw it somewhere out of a cab or I don't know what, and somebody found it. And about a month later, I get a package in my mail that's my wallet, completely empty, but I had already canceled everything, wrapped in rubber band, and it was stamped Postal Service. So they'll mail it back to you if it's your ID. If it's your phone in a puddle of slush, you're out of luck.
How long can you be without like an ID? Like, what happens if you drive with an ID and you get without an ID and you get pulled over?
They
like,
ticket you.
You get a ticket.
That's so weird. I've never not been without my ID, so I just was curious. Like, I'm like, wow.
Well,
driving's
driving's one thing. It's the people who get like stopped on the street by cops or something. They go, show me your ID. I don't have to show you my ID. And they end up getting cuffed or whatever. That's all nonsense. That's all made up. You don't have to show anyone your ID. If you're driving a car, they want to make sure that it's your car and they want to see the registration, all that stuff. But I don't know how long. I think you should test that, Cody. I think you should see how long can you get around without an ID.
No.
Polar blast punishment.
No.
Poundcake's just got to go a year without an ID.
1 year.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
Wow.
We'll see if he makes it.
Polar blast to polar blast. He's got to go ID-less. Or D-less. What about your polar blast punishment is you just go D-less. Forget the I. Yeah. You went celibate once before when you were on all that born-again nonsense. You went celibate, you could do it before. You could do it again.
When I was celibate, when I was born again, I lasted like 4 months. But what really
That's a long time.
That was a long time. But what really got me was when I was on the antidepressants. Don't you remember that?
Oh,
yes.
That was a lot. That was a lot longer, and I was like, I'm going to kill myself. I can't do this. No. So no. I don't.
Isn't that the irony of antidepressants? And now they tell everybody that none of them do anything.
Because, well, no, But
Oh, what? Is that a new study?
No, we talked about this like a month ago, that antidepressants, that depression is not a chemical thing.
I would say, but they do something. Okay, they just get rid of your sex drive. And like, before I had the sex drive and I didn't act on it.
Yeah.
Which was
none of the fun, none of the fix.
I was like, that's an accomplishment because I was still tossing off. But I was like, now I don't even want to like this mess. It was making me not have the will to want to toss off. I was like, oh no. Like I would just look at porn. And I'm like, this is disgusting. Why are human beings like this? Ow. And then I was like,
So okay if you had a healthy view of pornography?
Yes, I would close my laptop and go to bed.
This is terrible. I feel shame for the first time in my life. I don't know what's. I can't even finish.
I just want a connection with a real human being.
Yeah. Oh, that girl looks like she's in danger. I hope that she's.
I was so hurt. I'm like, what is this? Closed my laptop and I just like curled up underneath the covers. It was just, I was so upset.
He was hiding from pornography.
I was upset.
Yeah.
Being ID-less, last night I went to the bar in the hotel. The hotel's connected to the comedy club, okay?
That's
the
best.
It's so awesome.
It's
a really
the
nice
best.
hotel, too.
Especially when it's a nice
fantastic.
comedy club and a nice hotel. That
wonderful.
is, that's heaven.
So I didn't have anything on me. I didn't have my credit card or anything. I stopped at like the hotel bar and I was like, hey, do you guys have any non-alcoholic beer? And they're like, yeah, we have Heineken Zero. I said, okay, I'm going to run upstairs real quick, get my credit card. I'll be right back. I'll take a Heineken Zero. Guy said, no problem. I'll have it waiting for you. Come back down. He has the Heineken Zero in his hand and he's like holding it. He goes, I need to see your ID. And I like kind of looked at him. I was like, to order a non-alcoholic beer? And he was like, yeah, I still have to see your ID because technically it's a beer at a bar. And I was like, all right, I understand that. But I wish you would have told me that before I went all the way back up to my room to get my credit card. Like you could have, and I was like, whatever. I was like, really? Like I'm 33 years old. I'm sober. I just want to have, a non-alcoholic beer and celebrate a good show. He's like, sorry, I can't give it to you. I can't give it to you. And then he started to get kind of like crappy about it.
You should have told him to go F himself and have everybody stand up and cheer for you.
There you go.
But he was like, listen, that's the rule. And if you want it, you have to have an ID. And he got like mouthy about it. And I was like,
This an older guy?
yeah.
You
and
damn kids and your no IDs.
Well, I was annoyed because I was like, so in this dude's head, and I know he's just doing his job. I didn't say anything. I went back upstairs, got my ID, came back down a second time. But in my head, I was like, this guy thinks I am 19, trying to order a non-alcoholic beer illegally? Like, none of this even makes any sense to me.
First of all, no disrespect, Mary Lynn.
He thinks I'm less than 21?
He didn't think you were 19 years. No, because all the signs say if you look younger than 40, we're going to card you.
Whatever.
You go to the grocery store. It says if you look younger than 40, we're going to card you, which completely defeats the purpose.
Didn't you play a 40-year-old in a movie?
She can play 19. No, you're right. It was still a pain in the ass.
Because I'm like, in what world is an underage kid trying to get away with ordering
a non-alcoholic beer?
If I'd have sat down and been like, "Can I get 6 shots of Jameson to fire back one at a time?" Yeah.
Maybe he thinks you're a kid that has already done some hard living, and you're sober by 19.
Maybe.
I had to give it up, man. Had to give it up. So how did that resolve itself? You walked away with no beer?
At that point, I didn't even want the beer anymore, but now I'm aggravated. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to drink it. So I went back upstairs, got my ID, came back down, and the worst part of the entire interaction was that beer cost me $7.
Yeah.
I was so mad.
Yeah.
It's like, you know what? This is stupid. What point am I proving? You know what I mean?
Hey, McKinney in New York.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
So I have kind of a embarrassing story of losing my phone.
Those are my favorite kind.
Lose it all the time. This is back before smartphones. I had like an old flip phone and I would lose it constantly I was always getting calls from people like, you lost your phone again. They called me, come get it. I would just leave them in the cabs. I don't know why. But one time I got a call from this guy who was a partner in the hedge fund where I worked. And we had hooked up, and the guy who found the
McKinney's
phone
living a pretty awesome life so far. She's hooking up with the guy at the hedge fund. She's not making any money at that point because she's still got a flip phone. But this is before smartphones, I guess. So it's all right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was making good money, but my apartment was anyway.
I understand.
So he, the guy who finds it in the back seat is like, you must be her closest person because all these texts are about you, and calls this, and we had hooked up like it was anyway. So there's no way to lock the phone back then. There's no passcodes or anything. So he arranges to pick up the phone and then give it to me the next day at work. But I cannot tell you how many texts were in my phone about like the size of his pee, and just like how hard I was crushing on it. And he is like basically my boss. And I just know for a fact because he never looked at me again.
Yeah, of course.
He read through all of my texts. There were no photos, but it could not have been more. This is almost 15 years later. when I go to sleep at night, I still cringe, like my face turns red and hot thinking about the humiliating text that I wrote about this man.
This guy was your non-alcoholic beer. You wanted it and you couldn't get it.
The size of your pee?
Yeah.
But the worst part was that he was like, do you not have like somebody tagged like mom or dad? Or he's like, why am I the person that he called? I'm like, I don't know. And apparently he thought he was the closest person in my life at the time.
I guess so. Well,
so that's my
still.
story.
Noelle, irrespective of which one of you has the huge pee, congratulations on the story, McKinney.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's McKinney in New York City. Alan, I got carded for buying a Bud Zero at the grocery store when I was 8 months pregnant.
Don't understand.
They're trying to shame you. I thought, and it seems
Some
to
people
defeat.
just take rules serious.
It seemed to defeat the purpose, but I'm sure you would know. I thought that non-alcoholic beers technically had like 0.002% alcohol in them.
Some of them.
Just by the process of how they're made.
So some of them do. Some of them, like most non-alcoholic beers, will say less than 0.5% alcohol.
Gotcha.
But Heineken Zero and Bud Zero are marketed as 0% alcohol.
Yeah.
There is absolutely no alcohol in this at all. So there are a few of them, and then there's like a German one too. But there's a couple of them that are like.
But obviously you'd have to know
absolute
that, so you didn't order the wrong one.
Right.
Yeah.
But
I wonder if he cards people for root beer.
yeah, dude.
Technically, it's beer.
A glass bottle.
All right, I've got to take a break. I will have Carnival of Horrors passes for you if you want to get down to Can't Wait. It's at the Stark County Fairgrounds, so we'll hook those up for you on the way back. 35192 if you want to text for anything, and we'll be back.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7
WMMS. We got stuff. You want stuff. Win stuff.